Hi, I'm Harvey Blankfeld of the Brown Blankfeld Group, Berkshire Hathaway Home Services of Nevada, and we want to thank you for choosing the Brown Blankfeld Group for your real estate needs. We have prepared this video for our clients so they better understand the documents we use, and while we don't review every section of the document, we do try and clear up some of the most relevant concerns. We are recording this video in March of 2020, and if you're watching long after that date, there are likely changes that have taken place with this document, and this video may have some parts that are outdated. Also know that we operate in Southern Nevada and these forms are specific to our market. While you may be able to glean some value from this video, please know that no two markets operate exactly alike. And finally, I need you to know that I'm not an attorney and none of what I'm saying should be interpreted as legal advice.
The listing agreement. This is the document we use with sellers to have them authorize us to put their house on the market for sale. It's provided by our local board of realtors, Las Vegas Realtors. And let's just get right into it. The title is kind of interesting and a little more elaborate. It says exclusive authorization and right to sell, exchange or lease brokerage listing agreement. Then you see in parentheses ER, that stands for exclusive rights. Below that is a disclaimer basically saying this is a legally binding contract and that if you want to seek tax advice, by all means do through your tax advisor or legal advice from your attorney. Now, let's get right into the document. We start filling it out. This is the names of the sellers, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner. This is our brokerage, Berkshire Hathaway. It's important to note that this document is an agreement between the sellers and the brokerage. The brokerage owns the listing. I'm merely the assigned agent to the listing, but my broker is in fact in charge of this. Now, we're listing this one, in this case, for a period of 6 months. That's my standard practice. I don't like to list for anything less than 6 months, but this is negotiable. The city is Las Vegas, the county of Clark. Here's the tax ID number of the property, and here's finally the address of the property we're putting on the market right here. Next is the terms of the sale. We're listing this property for $300,000. We're asking that the buyers provide an earnest money deposit of $4,500 in this case. I kind of like the number somewhere between 1% and 2% of the purchase price. That's my own personal practice. Again, all negotiable. Then after that, we have the terms that we would accept: cash, conventional, FHA, or VA. You could also decide if you wanted to lease it, you could lease it. Or if you want to do a lease option, you could do that here as well. Here we're asking the seller if it's okay if we disclose the existence of multiple offers. In some cases, you might not want to do that. Very special circumstances, I suppose. But I like to be able to do that to hopefully have buyers compete for your property when we get it on the market. And we love it when that happens. We would normally disclose the existence of multiple offers, but we would never, ever disclose the actual terms of those offers. I think that would be a mistake to do so. Property offered for sale. The following items of personal property are included. In this case, we're adding in the refrigerator, washer, and dryer. These are 3 appliances that are not normally considered part of the sale, but very often buyers like it when they're there. As a seller, you have a decision to make at this point. Do you want to offer them for sale? They still become negotiable in the terms of the deal, but this question is, do you want to even offer them? Right after that is items you want to exclude. In this case, we wrote some attached shelves in the garage. I don't really like to do that, but every now and then we don't have a choice. I'd prefer my sellers remove anything that they would like to exempt before we go to market. I just hate for the buyers to fall in love with the chandelier your grandmother gave you, and then there's a dispute over that as we go through the transaction. So normally if seller says, gee, Harv, I want to take this light fixture with me because my grandmother gave it to me, I say, hey, let's take that down, box it up and pack it, and let's just put another light fixture up. Go over to Home Depot or Lowe's or someplace, just buy a fixture and put it up in place. Hopefully a similar style that would match your existing decor. Next we have items that are leased. This is a really important part of the document. In this case, the seller has let me know that they have a solar system that's leased. We want to make sure that we are aware of whatever it is in your home that you don't actually own if you lease it. We need to let the buyer know that it is your intention to sell them the home, but we need them to assume that lease. So very often in a case like this, when I see the solar system as something that's leased, I'm going to actually, right after this, after we've signed these documents and I get ready to take it to market, I'm going to prepare a counteroffer and include the idea that the solar system should be, a lease should be accepted. It's not being given to the buyer outright. Because in the residential purchase agreement, it says that all the items provided would be free of liens. this case, it's not. The solar system is leased, so we want to make sure we disclose that to the buyer and ask them to assume that lease. Title insurance will, of course, be provided. They're telling you have to provide title insurance to the buyer, which you will do. Compensation to the broker, this is my favorite part of this document. In this case, I'm asking the seller provide me with 6% of the sale price. I'm giving half of that to whatever agent or brokerage brings your buyer to the table. If there was a lease, we would fill in some terms here. We're not doing that. This whole section about compensation shall be due basically says we get paid if we sell the home, but there's a variety of other ways we might get paid. If a seller, not that you would ever do this, if a seller decided there was some unscrupulous way they could steal a commission from us, a lot of that's dealt with in this section. I'm not going to go through the details of that because I know you would never do that. But if you're curious about it, by all means, read this section when compensation shall be due. You're authorizing us to accept a deposit on your behalf. And we're normally going to have that deposit right into escrow. We're rarely going to see that money ourselves. Agency relationship. This basically says that we could represent you, or we could essentially represent both sides of the party. If we were representing both sides, we would have to complete what's called a consent to act. You would have to be made aware of that, and you'd have to approve of it. You'd have to say, yeah, that's okay, it's okay. Now, at the bottom of this page, you're going to see there's a place for sellers to initial. There is also that on the bottom of page 1, as there is on the bottom of every page. We want you to initial there, and then there's several other spots in the agreement where you're going to be initialing as well. For instance, right here in the middle of page 3, you're going to be initialing that you've received the seller's real property, the residential disclosure guide, which is a document provided to everyone doing a transaction here in the state of Nevada. You're also going to be filling out disclosures as a seller. In that case, it would be a seller's real property disclosure. You'd also be filling out a construction defect claim, should there be any. And if the house was built prior to 1978, you're going to complete a lead-based paint disclosure as well. In this section 9, you're indemnifying us from any knowledge we don't have specific. We have a duty to share material facts. If you are aware of things, you need to let us know. Please do. If we don't know those things, we can't be held accountable for them. Fair housing, this section talks about the idea where we can't discriminate. And there's a variety, I'm going to highlight them for you here. There's a variety of ways we're not allowed to discriminate. All of these ways right here. Oops, I keep missing it. There it is. Yeah. You get the idea. Common interest community, this is the HOA. You might have multiples. You might have an HOA. You might also have a master association. You're going to let us know what you're paying per month, or if it's a quarterly payment. You're going to also give us the phone numbers of those associations so that we can share all this information with the buyer when we do get your buyer. Special assessments. If you have a SID or a LID, we would disclose that here. We would want to know about it, and we would want to know what your current balance is and what your month, or actually usually a semi-annual payment on that. You can see that's how it's marked here. Now, I usually research this in advance of coming to see you, and I have this filled out for you based on what it says online. Here you're authorizing us to use a sign. Some people might be uncomfortable with the sign. That's fine. If you don't want a sign, tell us so. We'll change that to no sign. Also, but know this, that we never know exactly which method is going to work in terms of getting your home sold. So I like to put a sign in the yard. Sometimes people drive the neighborhood and fall in love with a house just from where it is. And so a sign is always helpful. This is the lockbox, the key box section. Here, the seller is authorizing us to use a key box, an electronic box. These boxes are terrific. They identify who was there, when they were there, and they're only accessed by people who are supposed to have that access. In this section E of this, we're asking you to authorize us to hand out one-day codes. Now, I would never give out a one-day code to anyone who wasn't a licensed professional, and I don't, as a common practice, give out one-day codes to other realtors, for that matter, because those people should already have access through their phones or through their key cards. And if they don't have that access, there's something wrong, and the reason they don't have it, so I'm not going to give them a one-day code. But I would give, if you said, hey, Harvey, I want to get the plumber in, I would be happy to provide them with a one-day code so they could use the key to access the property. It's also saying that we're not insuring you against theft here. I've never had this happen, and I'm knocking on my wooden desk here, but you're not going to hold us accountable should somebody misuse this. So you do have to be somewhat prudent about your choices. And don't leave anything valuable out when you list your home. Don't make it easy for somebody. Sometimes children are coming with their family to look at the property, and they might do things that they're not supposed to. Tax withholding, if you're a foreign national, we have to abide by the laws related to FIRPTA. So if you are a foreign national, we would need to know that here. Again, seller's initials right here, and then again at the bottom of the page. Mediation, should there be any dispute, you agree to mediate first. Multiple listing, you understand that we're going to use multiple lists to market your property. That's how we share it with all the other realtors. We're going to be advertising your home in a variety of methods. We're going to be using photographs. If you provide us with photographs, when you give us those photographs, you're authorizing us to use them to market your property. You're basically giving us license to use them. Section 20 talks about seller opt-outs. Basically, this is if you don't want your home on the internet, or you don't want, if you don't want the internet at all, or you just don't want any commentary about it on the internet, or maybe you don't want any automated estimate of values on it. I'm going to discourage my sellers from opting out of any of these and ask them to initial here where they say they don't opt out of any of the above. And I'm going to do that because the internet is a valuable tool we use to market your property, and we'd like to use it as much as we possibly can. The use of that listing content, we're going to use it in a variety of ways in a variety of media. This contract's written in Nevada under Nevada law. Entire contract, what's written is what counts. What we're saying by way of explanation doesn't necessarily count. And any changes to the agreement need to be made in writing. If part of the contract was deemed invalid, it would not invalidate the whole thing. If there's a lawsuit, basically what it's saying is that the loser is going to cover everybody's attorney's fees. Again, you're initialing, bottom of each page. Don't want to forget that. Damages cap, basically what this says is that if you are to sue for damages from the broker, the most you could really get from the broker would be the commission. Warranty of ownership, by signing this agreement, you're saying, yeah, you're the owner. You're authorized to do this. Foreclosure section. This whole section talks about foreclosure. If you are in danger of foreclosure as you enter this agreement, please let us know about that and let us mark these appropriately, because that creates timelines that we want to make sure we adhere to. We don't want to put you in a position where we get you under contract, but we don't close in time to forego or to interrupt the foreclosure and get the home sold before the bank concludes the foreclosure. The signature section talks about the idea that electronic signatures are okay, fax signatures are okay. Recommendations, if we recommend somebody to you, if I recommend somebody to you, it's because they've served my clients in the past and done well. If they don't take good care of you, I want to know about it so I won't recommend them in the future. I'm not receiving any compensation from them, however. And you should investigate them yourself. Make sure that you're comfortable with them. Even though we recommend them, they may not be right for you. If you were to default, the broker could essentially sue you for the commissions. It's a possibility. Again, I've never been involved with that. It's a possibility. Binding effect is basically binding to you and your heirs. Joint and several, to you and your partner are both joint and severally responsible. Time is of the essence. Additional terms in this case is none. Now we're going to see some bold, capitalized letters. It says this is a very important document. Make sure you understand it. Make sure that if you want to seek legal advice, you do so. Now here's where you're going to sign. You're going to be signing here and here. It's also important you know that this email address is really critical. This is the email address we're going to use to update you throughout the process. And this is the phone number we're going to use to update you as well. And maybe this is the phone number we're going to share on multiple lists to make appointments to see your property. This address may not be the home address. You might be living somewhere else right now, or maybe you've already moved, or maybe not. It might be the same address. If not, this is where we're going to be sending the materials to once we get you sold. And then the bottom, this identifies us, our brokerage. This is where I'm going to sign as a designated licensee. My broker is going to sign right here. Once the broker signs, it's a binding agreement. You're going to initial at the bottom of this page. And then this final page here is all of the areas with which we're not allowed to discriminate, all the various laws related to discrimination. You're also going to initial inside of these boxes right over here. That's our listing agreement. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have any questions, by all means, reach out to us. We're happy to help.
I hope you found this video helpful. Feel free to review our other videos at www.brownblankfeld.com. Once again, thanks for choosing the Brown Blankfeld Group for your real estate needs. And if you ever have any questions, just call or text me. at 702-203-1165.